video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use a beautiful new garden window from the John Next Door collection, along with the garden fence, to make a card similar to this, with this beautiful little window with the window box and the flowers all in there. And everything used on this card comes from the Garden Flowers collection. So we're going to start by making the window. So using the garden window die set, we've taken a piece of craft card. So you can use a piece of craft card or a piece of sort of brown sort of card, anything you want really. And we've got to use 2 dies from the set. The die set comes with 3 dies. This beautiful 4x6 panel, which is a perfect photo scrapbooking size, which gives you a beautiful stitch detail. Then the inner window and the outer window. So we just need to put the inner and the outer window together. So taking a piece of low tack tape, we pick up the inner die. We then position that to the outer die. And I'm just going to pop that on. Let's just get that right. So we'll pick that up again, make sure it's well stuck down. Hover over and pick up the outer die. And we tape that down to a piece of card. And whilst we're doing this, we can also cut ourselves the outer die from the window box and the inner die from the window box. So I'm just going to add a little bit of low tack tape, and we're simply going to run those through our die cutting machine. And once we've done that, we will get the beautiful window, the outside panel and the inside panel. And all I want to do is to age these up a little bit. So using medium out or just a little bit of card, it is easier for this. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour. So I'm using VersaFine in sepia and a finger dauber. Take a little bit of colour onto it. Take your outer die and just go roughly around the edge. So we're just colouring around the edge to give it more of an aged wood look. We do exactly the same with the inner piece. And this has this beautiful heart in the middle and all the stitch detail to show sort of wood. So take your dauber and just sort of scribble over the heart. What that will do is give you a beautiful aged look on the heart. And we do exactly the same in the window. And I'm not being careful. I'm not trying to sort of get it all around the edges or anything. I'm just trying to sort of age it. So if you imagine that the window itself is a stencil and you're just trying to get a light impression of that window as a stencil. So just going through, and we get a random aged look to the window. And again, you get a beautiful panel that you could cut out, or you could offset another piece on to create you a beautiful window. So there we have our first 2 pieces cut. Really nice and simple. And all we need to do, I've got a piece ready prepared here, is put a little bit of foam tape on the back of the first panel of the window box. Needs slightly longer nails than I've got at the moment. And we're just going to pop that onto the middle just to give a little bit of dimension to give us a window box. So there we have our window and our window box ready. So now we want to produce a panel to fit in. So using the outside die, we cut a panel I've cut in white. It gives us a perfect 4x6 piece. So absolutely perfect. And we now take the inner die from the window set. So we don't want the outer die, we just want the inner die. And again, we just tape that down onto our piece of card and we run that through and cut it. And when we've done that, we will get a piece that looks just like this. So there we've got a perfect inner window die. And we want to add a little bit of definition to this. So I'm going to use a little bit of spray glue onto the back of the window and take a piece of acetate. This can be any sort of acetate. I'm using the Kaleido acetate from Crafts 2. Stick that down and we take our scissors and we just take that acetate off. So we've got an actual window and a glassine window done on there. So Next, we need to take a piece of background. You can use anything you want to. I've made this using the Fusion sprays from Craft Artist. So I've actually just used the blue and the green Craft Artist Fusion sprays, given that a light spray to give me almost like a skyey sort of background for this. So we take our window and we add foam tape onto the back here. So I put foam tape around all 4 sides. Really simple. And I put a little bit in the center just to support it. And we're going to stick that down onto our window piece. Really simple, really easy. So we've got a little bit of distance, and again, take a pair of scissors and undercut and trim out anywhere that it's showing. So we now have our beautiful completed window piece. So we simply now need to add on our window. So I'm going to use my fine glue applicator for this, just to make sure that I get a nice even gluing of it. You can use your spray glue if you want to, but I find using the fine glue applicator is easier because it gives me a little bit more positionable. So I'm just running it down each of the pieces, running across. Really simple. You can take a little bit more time for this, making sure I put my pin back in. And then I can put it exact, or what I'm going to do is just offset it slightly. And that gives me a beautiful little reflection through the window. So I've got this little white edge running all the way through. Fantastic if you want to make sort of Christmas cards or things like that. So now we simply need to use some of the flowers, and I've made up some of the garden flowers using the garden flower dies in this same collection. So I've made off some here of the willow herb and some of the bluebells. And again, I'm just going to glue these down on flat because all the 3D is coming from the actual window box itself. We don't want to make a card that's too hard to stick down. So I'm just going to pop those on. So I've got some there. I'm going to take these little flowers that have been made, and this has all been using Crafts 2 linen card. So I think I've used sort of the hot pink here, the yellow and the wisteria. And finally, I've got a yellow one here. And again, just adding a little bit of glue. You can use spray glue, but using the your normal sort of glue really works. And all you want to do is to take some of these flowers and mix them in. So I'm pulling this one to be on top. I'm going to have that little pinky one on top there, just so that they're all beautifully splayed around. Now I want to take my scissors and I want to take anything excess off underneath the window. So you can see here, taking these little pieces off here, and you can use those for another project. And then we take a little bit of foam tape on our window box and a little bit up, and we stick our window box on. And there we have just a simple little window box with the flowers showing beautifully out of there. And I'm going to take card blank, simple 5x7, and we're just going to pop that on. So we'll pop that onto there. Or alternatively, we can choose one of the colours from this. So we can take one of the colours and add a little matte and layer. So I'm going to pull that blue colour from the background out. I could pull the blue colour from the background out and mat it onto there, mat it onto a piece of beige. I could mix it all around together. There's lots of different options I could do for this. What I'm actually going to do is to take the purple from the flowers. So I've made a mat here of purple and a mat of white, of brown, beige. We're just going to stick that into the centre to pull that together, and there is your finished card. A very simple but effective card for any occasion, made using the JND401 and JND402 garden fence dies.